you for having me, Trevor. I think I normally come in the morning. It's unusual for me to be out in the evening.
Yeah.
But if you read my submission, and I brought a copy which was received by the National Dialogue Committee, it was not only about the term limit of the president, it was also creation of official opposition leader, reintroduction of office of the prime minister, extension of presidential term limit from 5 years to 7 years, and also constitutional backing for the CDF and War Development Fund. My thinking is very simple, and I said earlier today in the afternoon, that when you look at 5 years that the president has been given to serve, normally in Kenya, because this is unique to Kenya, is that 1 year after you assume office, you always do the supreme litigation issues, then the issues of settling down, like appointment of cabinet, vetting, realigning the government with your agenda. That 1 year goes. So again, after the fourth, the fifth year, you know, Kenyans like campaigns. The 50th year is only wasted, and even the statistics have shown even the economy is doing badly at that year because the country goes back to campaign mode. So you only have 3 years that you can really work for the people. And I think if you give 7 years, you minus the two, that one you do in settling, and then one during the campaigning period, you'll get 5 years, which all Kenyans are arguing about.
To my channel. So that was CHERARGEI last year when he introduced that proposal of extending the presidential term from 5 to 7 years. So when he first introduced that bill, people just thought it was going to wash away, until recently when somebody said there's a requirement for people to submit their views on the same by tomorrow, that is Friday. So somebody once said any activity in the political arena doesn't just happen for the sake of happening, because I'm not trying to be tribal, but I can't help and wonder if it's just a coincidence that the sponsor of this bill comes from the same tribe as the sitting president. I suspect he is a mouthpiece for the guy, and the reason why I'm saying that is because this is not the first time CHERARGEI is ruffling feathers. Because if you remember, in 2023, when the finance bill was challenged, he was very vocal about defending the same.
What we should be doing is congratulating the government for allowing side discussion. The third point, the fourth point is there are many things that have been done. I think what people are looking at is the VAT of fuel only, and maybe the housing levy fund, which I will demystify as the show goes on. As the show goes, going on. But what I can tell you, as Kenya Kwanza troops in Parliament, and for the record, and with all due respect, this finance bill, we need it like yesterday for government to settle down, for government to provide service to the people.
But
we shall not.
Have you listened to us? Have you listened to? You're saying yes, we'll bring it to the open, but the discussion we're only hearing is we will pass it whether you like it or not. Are you listening to us?
I'm the one who said that, and I don't know why you are using the long route. What I'm just saying is that as a legislator, under Article 1, you either exercise the mandate directly or indirect. Personally, I was elected by the great people of Nandi. Any process, and he has been a senator and a legislator before some of us, any process, be it a bill, a motion, or a statement, is being enriched by the discussion. It doesn't mean that it will affect the final product. And that is why, as the representatives of the people, as parliamentarians, especially on the side of Kenya Kwanza, we are not going to amend even a comma, because we believe this bill, we should allow. What is happening in the country is there is too much noise. Because our people are the people in opposition are too idle, and therefore, you know, to oppose is very easy. You just sleep and wake up in the morning and say, I don't like the show run by James Matt, and you go.
There he said they were not going to change even a comma on that bill. So the bill was actually challenged all the way to the courts, who declared it unconstitutional right after the finance bill for 2024 was dropped. So back to this new proposal of extending the term, the Kiambu Senator KARUNGO THANGWA introduced his bill to counter CHERARGEI's by proposing the serving term to be reduced from 5 years to 4 years.
The arguments for and against, one of them is that a 7-year term is able to give a government an opportunity to deliver. What's your sentiments in this? Is it sufficient? Because we take a lot of time settling and politicking after an election.
You know, Ken, it's not about politicking. It's about systems. If the government can create systems, it doesn't matter who comes in. You can change your member of parliament after a year, after 2 years, after 3 years. And if it comes in and finds the systems were there, they can always check the systems and work. So
True.
the only problem with the 7-year term is that if country will have a very negative connotation against the government that is leading them, like probably we have now, because we have a lot of discontent, a lot of distrust. People do not trust us as we are now. Can you imagine having the same status for the next 7 years? So that's why I am introducing, let's even do a 4-year term.
Okay.
And I'm really happy that I have seen even a senator, my colleague, that is Senator Omtata, who has also commented on my issue of a 4-year term. And he said, we can even make it better by having a midterm election.
Okay.
What do you mean by midterm election? After you vote for us for 4 years, then within 2 years, we have a mini referendum of an election.
I'm telling you, if we had that midterm elections, I think 3/4 of the current representatives would go home.
Asiendelee. Kama tunauliza hivyo kwa ba, ona tusiuliza kwa serikali.
Very, and you know something about you, all the proposals or some of the proposals you brought to the Senate in the last few years have been very interesting. I remember the one on holiday, but I want to ask you this. Don't you think your premise is wrong now that it's a reaction and probably you're looking at the current administration rather than looking at Kenya progressively? Don't you think that makes your premise for this wrong?
You know, one time Minister, Mr. Mishuki said, if you rattle a snake, we were okay, we were fine, things were going on well. But if you realize that somebody is taking you for a ride, then it is time to think back. Look at the mover of this amendment, the Senator for Nandi. Look at where he comes from. Look at how he voted to kick out the Deputy President.
You see, I'm not the only one who is wondering if the fact that he comes from the same tribe as the sitting president has a lot to do with why this bill is being introduced.
Then we think this is a grand scheme of people trying to retain power. And I'm not just talking about president. I'm talking about senators. I'm talking about MPs. I'm talking to everybody who is in power, that they want to extend their time limit because they understand after what they have done to Kenyans, they might not be elected again in 2027. So they're like, okay, if you will not elect us in 2027, we better extend our term. So what we're trying to say is that we do not want this issue to be taken as a senator who is just trying to be known, or a senator who is just trying to bring this issue from wherever. It is time for us Kenyans to start this conversation. Remember, the MPs passed the finance bill, and they know people are angry at that. They impeached regarding Gachagua, and they know now people are twice angrier than they were before. So instead of waiting for 2027, they're saying, let's extend our term. We eat for 7 years, then we are done.
But Senator, you know as well as I do that if at all that proposal will pass, then it begins in the next term. That means that 5, then another 7, then of course because it's a new dispensation, you do another 7. So it doesn't extend the current. They'll have to go to an election. But I want to ask you this, because the more progressive a country is, the lesser the years in a single term. Look at the US, for example, including the fact that the other positions have midterm elections. But as we conclude, I'd like to ask you this. What will it take to get your proposal through? What will you need to get it through?
See, we were just concluded, or we were shown by Kenyans through the Gen Z movement, that the MPs or the senators listen to the people. If they are agitated, you know, the MPs were told do not pass the finance bill. And when they did, the Gen Zs and Kenyans did what they did until the president cancelled or did not assent to the bill. So this is something that we are saying. Now, if you need to change, actually Kenyans had no problem with the 5-year term. But when you hear somebody say increase, now we have to ask ourselves, is the pressure increasing or decreasing? So let's decrease.
Okay.
If you are trying us by telling us that you can increase, let's show you the people have power, we are actually going to decrease.
So KARUNGO added that there's some elements within the current government that are actually sponsoring that CHERARGEI bill, and that ODM is also helping.
Acting alone, I want you just to know that the same proposal is in the NADCO report. The NADCO report that was okayed by the ODM leader, Raila Odinga, and of course, President Ruto, and the committee that was formed between both the National Assembly and the Senate. They have that proposal in the NADCO report. So when you see CHERARGEI coming up with this proposal, don't just wish him away. No, it is something that has been premeditated. And I want to ask you, can you handle the shenanigans that are going on within the government and within the leadership for another 1 year, leave alone 7 years? So that's why I decided today to call Kenyans. If they have ever thought of a day they would stand up for their nation and for their governance, this is the time. Because if we increase the term limit from 5 to 7, that means if you elect somebody, you're going to be that person 7 years. You're going to be that person for 7 years. If by any other mistake he's elected twice, it's 14 years. Meaning you go through primary, you go through higher education, you even go to the university with the same leadership.
Check out the video I uploaded yesterday where Morara was stressing why he suspects we won't be having general elections in 2027. I'm going to stick the video at the end and below this video. So if you ask me what I think about this saga, I totally agree with KARUNGO. I don't see why these politicians cannot deliver within 5 years, because President Kibaki made a lot of positive changes within 5 years. So if you check developed countries, the politicians usually work within the stipulated time and their systems always work efficiently. So I don't see why Kenyan politicians should be treated any differently. Not unless they want to stay on so that they can see their dubious deals come to fruition. It's a very loud wake-up call for all Kenyans to become very vigilant, and it's also an opportunity for all opposition parties to re-strategize, and if they have a common goal, form a coalition, even if it's a coalition of 50 parties, so that they can counter this regime. So let me know what your thoughts are in the comment section below. Don't forget to submit your views on this matter by tomorrow, which is the deadline. Make sure you also spread the word around. Share this video with as many people as possible. If you're not subscribed to my channel, please consider doing so. Thanks for stopping by, and I'll see you on the next one. Bye for now.